All right, so we'll be using the Wicked Edge Pro Gen 3 for this guy. And I might have to use, yep, I'm gonna have to use that. Which means I'm gonna do that. So, this is a small little paring knife, and so the angle will be too steep or shallow or wide. Not really sure which way, but you're gonna end up hitting the vice clamps if you don't use the small knife attachment. So let's go ahead and get the longer arms on there. Tighten down, and then if you got one of these Gen 3s, you're used to this, but those of you that, if you're looking to buy like one of these secondhand, I wouldn't. I just spend the extra money and get the Gen 4 because these adjustments, they're gonna work themselves free. It's just the way the physics of it work. So you just gotta understand that is going to happen. All right, so we'll get that in there. Use a little shim. That is backwards, and go this way. Loosen it up. That guy. Yeah, I was all excited. Get to use my new jaws on the work sharp. And of course, the first knife that I pick doesn't fit in the new jaws, and I have to use the small attachment anyway. So anyway, the Wicked Edge was awesome with replacing those jaws. I just hit up their customer support, told them what the problem was, sent them a video, and they sent me out replacement jaws as well as cam lock pins or cam pins. I haven't replaced those yet because that seems to have done the trick. But all right, we got that in there. We'll go ahead and mark our edge. So as I said, I don't think this has been sharpened before. But it does have some chips. So first thing I'm going to do is find the angle, make sure this is going to be the right tool for the job. That's why sharpeners have so many different tools and toys to play with. It's because not every tool is right for each knife. So that's pretty good. Let's see if that gets me in the ballpark where I need to be. That part's good. Checking the back. And by the way, I put my hand here just so I can see the marker on the opposite side. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that in the video. Don't know if I'm going to publish this video. These have not been... it's only us knife nerds that really want to see this stuff, so... Okay. Making apex, front's gonna need some work. Back, it does, so these paring knives are not sharpened all the way to the back. They stop a little bit premature. So, gotta get those chips out. And this is a technique, I forget the gentleman's name. He's the reason why I do this though. If I remember, I'll tell you. But bought his ebook on starting a knife sharpening business. And that's what he recommends to work out chips. Kind of do that to level it out because these chips are not super deep, and trust me, yes, that will dull the knife, but this knife needs to be reprofiled. Cardboard is sharper. Okay, looks like those chips are out. It's really hard to see. Do I have a magnifying glass in here? Magnifying glass is filthy. Well, I do have a lit magnifying glass. I think we're on the side though. as far as I can tell, it looks like most of those chips are out. I'm gonna give it. And you do got to be careful, like when you do this, is it will make that back edge. It'll basically remove so much material from the front of the knife that the back edge doesn't have the right shape anymore. But remember, this one isn't sharpened all the way back, so that should do it. We'll go ahead and sharpen this guy. This is I believe the proper pronunciation is Wüsthof or Wüsthof, as we say in America. I'm just gonna go. And this is the technique I've used. If you guys have any other suggestions for working with a wicked edge, that's the way I do it. I do one side, make sure I can feel a burr. Not excessively, right? If it's not happening, then I'll go to the other side. But 9 times out of 10 or more, that works. And, you know, as I've been analyzing the way other people sharpen and watching other businesses and watching other folks on YouTube and Instagram, different techniques that they have for sharpening, it is really cool to see. You know, I used to think that, hey, there's one way that's the best way, and that's not always the case. It's not that there's one way is the best way, it's that there's one technique is right given the circumstances that you have. So like I used to be super anti-slack felt because I didn't like the edge that it would put on kitchen knives. Still not a fan of it, but there are still applications where it is the right tool to use, such as sharpening things that aren't knives. They work really well for sharpening shovels if you don't want to do it by hand with the Norton file or something like that. Double checking, make sure everything's still nice and tight. And one thing I don't like, it hasn't seemed to have affected this, is the angle. This is why when I measure the angle, I put pressure against the knife, because the knife does move a little bit. So I set the angle a little bit more narrow. So I set it like 16 degrees and then put pressure on it, and it came out to like 18 to 19, which is more in line with what I'm looking for this guy. So that's feeling pretty good. Let's move on to 406. And so anyway, so like you'll see it bounce back and forth, but I let it reset before I go to the next one. Like before I start my stroke, I kind of push it so it's at that spot. It's just a way of overcoming, you know, the disadvantage of using this particular tool. But I still, unless you were to sharpen this with like a Japanese whetstone or, you know, diamond whetstone, what have you, this is still my preferred way to go. I have a Ken Onion, you know, Mark II work sharp. I got a Tormek T8. You know, I have various different ways that I can sharpen this, and I just find the wicked edge, even with having used the small knife low angle adapter, with it bouncing around like that, this still just gives me the most consistent results. You'll see sometimes I do and sometimes I don't wipe the knife before changing between stones. I'm not super worried about them getting cross-contaminated with other particulate. I have a separate set of stones that I use. It's an older set, but those have been you know, preserved and not contaminated, washed regularly. If I'm doing a high polish job or something where it's going to be super critical, the appearance, not necessarily the function of the knife, then I will use those and use that slightly different technique. Okay, make sure we're still good there. Yeah, and this is feeling like it's on glass. Go to 1500, then 2000. Yeah, that's not going to need anything. And you kind of notice, you just do this by feel once you get used to it. You can tell when it gets as good as it's going to get or as smooth as it's going to get. You'll notice that I didn't put very many on that, and that's because, oh shoot, almost just cut my thumb off. That's because I'm going to strop this. All this dust, that's dust from the knife, from the steel, as well as the Sharpie. Hopefully it's mostly Sharpie because, you know, I don't want to think about how much of that stuff just is getting into the environment and polluting it. All right, so this is good. It's pretty sharp. And we'll get it strapped here. And I'm telling you right now, I mean, it's going to be good. It's certainly better than, you know, when it came in. There's still a couple of hang-ups, but I don't like the way the tip turned out. I don't know if that's going to show up on here. Come on, focus up. The tip, I don't like, it is not, the bevel is too thick at the tip and it gives it this abrupt end. So I have to do some different work on that, but I don't got the camera set up to show you that. So, but yeah, I'm gonna take this over to another tool and get that good. I mean, as far as the usefulness, it's fine. This customer seemed to really like their knife collection, and I don't know, I would notice a small thing like that, so maybe they would. And if not, it's important that when you do work that meets your standards first. You know, if it doesn't meet your own standards and you're cutting corners for yourself, then man, it's so humid. So anyway, that's how you sharpen it. I'm gonna go through. I was taking my time there, explaining everything. I'm gonna go through and fix that tip, and have that. Just clean that up a bit. I just don't like that shape. All right, that's looking much better now. What I had to do is I had to actually take some off the top of the knife just to make that the way I wanted it. You can see it's very serviceable edge. It didn't go for extreme high polish. This is a working knife. It's not a show knife. It had lots of scratches when it came. It had lots of scratches when it came in. There was no request to get the scratches out or anything like that. And also, like, sometimes, like, you can go through and you can polish these. But what I don't like, oh, look, the angle cube fell on the ground. What I don't like, though, is that sometimes it takes the maker's mark off. And I don't like doing that, especially when this is a knife that someone's probably pretty proud of. I'm certainly proud of the sharpening job. All right, that one's done.